Imagine life's challenges as a storm, a force that can either wash us away or spark the change we need. Here, we're the spark that ignites that storm, the fire that fuels it, and the guiding light through it. So, lean in, open your mind, and we'll realize that we are not at the mercy of the storm, but we are the storm.
You've been told healing comes from something outside of you, a prescription, a quick fix, someone else's permission. But the truth, everything you need is already inside of you. Your breath, your body, your ability to reconnect, repair, and rise. At Reconnect Mind Body, we don't add anything to you. We help you tap into what's already there. Breathwork, cold exposure, compression, sauna, light therapy. Start unlocking the power within you at thereconnectlife.com.
Welcome to We Are the Storm. I am Jackie McCormack. I am joined here by my sweet Ashley. Today we are talking about gratitude.
Yeah.
Thank you. So last episode, we covered the topic of impact, right? What's the real impact about doing the work, about covering resilience and what it means for us. And so this time we're going to move to gratitude.
Yeah.
And I think this is another one of those big topics that we could probably fill 2 hours with.
Probably more.
Yeah, right. We're gonna keep it to 30. But
Yeah.
what are your first initial thoughts about gratitude in the resilience space, right? I mean, not just like general gratitude, but very specific to resilience. I think it takes on a different shape. What do you think?
I think it does. And speaking a little bit, maybe not outside of the framework, but kind of still within this whole topic, I kind of want to talk about the gratitude in two parts. One, adding it in. They say you can't be angry and grateful at the same time, right? So that part of shifting your perspective and finding the silver linings in the storm, the things that you can be grateful for, right? My job is a hot mess, but I am grateful that I still have a roof over my head, and I am grateful that I can still feed my son, or kind of that conscious choice to shift your perspective. And there's another aspect that I think we might end up coming back to about gratitude. And I like to practice it a lot when I'm healing from past traumas, is the gratitude to myself for the coping mechanisms that have kept me safe up to here.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I used to react this way with fear, for example. Fear has been driving my life, my whole life. I have been afraid to do things like this podcast wouldn't have happened. There's many things that wouldn't have happened because fear was driving my life. And after my initial cold plunge and meeting with Cameron, we sat and talked afterwards. And we talked about fear and what it feels like, what it looks like, where it is in my body, and what would happen if I get rid of it. And we sat there and made this sort of conscious shift of thanking the fear for keeping me safe, because that's what it was there for, right? Mm-hmm. It was my defensive mechanism to keep me safe.
Yep.
And also, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah, it's not useful anymore.
No, but thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost honoring it rather than fighting it,
Mm-hmm.
and accepting that it was a part of you, and also you don't need it anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. What does gratitude, just kind of at the beginning part, look like for you within this resilient space?
It's really having a gratitude for the opportunities, which often present themselves as challenges, to become and to reveal different parts of myself. And so there's a gratitude that really has to be in place to be able to show up. And I'm just speaking from my own perspective and how resilience manifests in my life. I really have to be grateful because I do have a little bit of an anger tendency where, if things aren't going my way, and I'm a planner, right? And I like to get things in line, and especially with clients, or if engagements are not turning out the way I had initially planned, or, you name it, insert whatever. My first reaction is usually anger. And that was one of the biggest challenges for me. It was, I am not a person that experiences a lot of fear. That's just not part of who I am. I do, however, experience anger. And so recognizing that gratitude does silence the anger.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. But being able to reappraise something that would make me angry as a gift or an opportunity. Now I have the chance to grow. Now there's the resistance that make my roots go deeper. Now I have things that are revealing themselves in my life, usually through other people, who now are adding value that was never there before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So given, our relationship, and given how we came in contact and, met through Scott and all of these different amazing pieces that just lined up so perfectly, now our relationship is adding an entirely new value that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
I had absolutely no desire to do a podcast.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. But when we talked about it, and again, it does speak to the impact, and it does talk about, go back to, you need to be open. And this is an opportunity to be open and do something new that was closed off before, and to be grateful for it.
Yeah.
And now look where we are.
I know.
Like the gratitude of just being here with Bill and you and this amazing space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Oh, absolutely. I feel so grateful for this opportunity to do it, and that all those pieces really align to get here. And I'm so grateful for all of the things that got me here, even though I may not have liked them at the time. To be able to speak to this from my existence and my perspective. And I want to talk about, you're talking about gratitude and resistance. I have this funny thing happen when I design something, right? I recently designed this big pull-up poster for a conference that we did. And I'm designing it, and there's a lot of intention that goes into what I design. There's a lot of thought. There's a lot of adherence to different psychological principles or the experience I want someone to have when they're looking at this, the very specific feeling. There's a lot that goes into it. The word choice, the placement, the font. And then I'll show my boss.
Oh boy. Yeah, okay.
It's not right yet. Okay, what do you want me to fix?
Yeah.
It's just not right. Fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that moment, that the anger that you're feeling, it for me, I don't know if it's quite anger, but it's definitely frustration, right? I put so much effort. There's so much thought. There's reasons behind these things. And I don't want to fix it because it's amazing. And I put this thing out there. And then I go back and I tweak and I tweak. And because there was this obstacle, there was this thing here, I have now found something around it that has made something even better than my original version, right?
Right.
They often say creativity happens when you have like a resistance of some sort, right? You have to get around it or over it or under it or create something within this framework that was never created before. Yep. And that's where those really amazing ideas come from. And even though in that moment you're like, but I did all these things for a purpose.
Yeah.
What comes out on the other side is always better than that initial thing. And it speaks to that impact we were talking about. And at the end of it, I'm grateful they throw up that resistance. I'm grateful that they pushed me in a way that I didn't want to be pushed at the moment or presented that obstacle. And I think it's amazing.
Right. Yeah. And the real gift that gratitude gives is that it's a new lens. It's like looking through, a different pair of glasses that you have on every day. And the same set of circumstances, you can see through a different set of glasses and it's completely different.
Yes.
And that's what gratitude does.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, when we were at a women's retreat a few weeks ago, Ashley and I went to this fantastic women's retreat, and there was a gal there who's local to the Phoenix area. Her name was Carolyn, and she's a sound healer. And she did a private session, I believe with you. She did one with me, and she had gratitude bracelets on. I don't know. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic again. But this is one of her bracelets, and I wear it constantly, and it's designed very intentionally. Yeah. And there's 10 beads to force yourself to go through and name 10 things that you're grateful for. And then there's 5 specific people that you're grateful for. There's 3 beads of people that you need to forgive. Right? So forgiveness comes in. And I think the link between forgiveness and being grateful and gratitude is a really powerful one. And then, of course, there's lava stones. There's lava stones to help keep us grounded. But this is just a symbol that I keep on my wrist because I still battle the anger muscle. Yeah. Right? But I know that the antidote to that is doing a gratitude exercise like that, and refocusing my mind, choosing to put on the glasses of gratitude. Yeah. It changes everything.
It does.
It really does.
The perspective shifts that we have been talking about so thoroughly, just the perspective shift between, they whisper, you can't withstand the storm, and I whisper back, I am the storm. That's a massive perspective shift. And gratitude is another one of those. That perspective shift has to be a choice, right? It's not automatic. It's not something that's just innate, like, oh, this situation really sucks, I'm grateful for it. It's not a natural thing necessarily. You can practice it so it becomes more habitual, but it's a conscious choice to do it. And the piece that you brought up is so fascinating about forgiveness. I feel when you put on those glasses and you're like, what can I be grateful for in this moment? It actually facilitates the forgiveness easier, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because maybe they didn't do it to be a jerk. Maybe they didn't do it because they had malintentions or bad intentions. Maybe they didn't do it for anything other than whatever storm they're going through. And the gratitude of being able to see it from a different perspective, from a different lens, kind of makes it easier to shift the perspective, to have some empathy, to be grateful for the interaction or whatever it brings, whatever new perspective you can see. Or even I feel like there are certain things that happen in your life that are just so you can teach other people how to get through it.
Yeah, you bet.
There's no other purpose or reason than that, right? Now I know how to teach someone else to do this. And for you to be able to teach other people and walk them through resilience is just such this amazing gift and tool that I'm grateful we get to bring to this podcast and talk about and work through and learn to utilize in our own lives.
Absolutely. Right. And I think that is, being grateful for the storms.
Yeah.
Learning from the storms so that we know how to become one. Right. It acknowledges that there's a lot of hat tips that go into gratitude, and being grateful for the challenges, being grateful for the people in our lives that have taught us things, not so good things and amazing things. But we're grateful because it's all made us, it's all brought us really to where we are now. I think that, when we were talking, I want to jump back for a second because I think it's important when we have gratitude, we were talking about fear and being able to choose, right? Viktor Frankl, he wrote The Man's Search for Meaning. There is amazing, amazing book. Another one that if you haven't read, I highly recommend reading it. But Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychologist or psychiatrist, one of the two. But unfortunately, he was taken to Auschwitz during World War II, and he was one of the survivors. Wow. But he lost everything, and he went through what victims of Auschwitz and the Nazi Party went through at that time, which was horrific. Yeah. I mean, we talk about storms, we talk about the ugliness and the challenges that people can face. I really struggle to think of anything more extreme than what he suffered through. Yeah. And his book really outlines the actual path of resilience and how he takes the understanding that he had as a practitioner and was able to look at the guards and understand their perspective and look at the other prisoners at the camp and understand why they didn't make it.
Yeah.
And why he did. And there is a thread of gratitude that is all the way through his entire story. And it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. And the other point that I really want to bring up is that in order to develop the awareness, to really understand what am I thinking, what is, to be able to listen to ourselves, we have to first establish some stillness. We have to be able to quiet ourselves. And that kind of takes me back to my angry stage.
Yeah.
I can't, when my mind is red, when I'm angry, it is not quiet.
Yeah.
It's not still.
No.
It's the opposite. And so the gratitude is an exercise that does bring me back, and it does quiet our mind. So whether it's a bracelet, whether, people have a rosary where they're going through their beads doing that way,
Yeah.
it's a stilling effect. That stillness is at the very core and the foundation of real gratitude, being able to reappraise and look at things in a different way.
It's so interesting that we talk about kind of the paths and the empathy and how they sort of intertwine, and maybe one leads to the other and the other leads to the other. So, maybe gratitude is the way that we get to empathy, or maybe empathy is the way that we get to the gratitude. There's a really interesting thing, the fundamental attribution error.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So in my lovely mind, the fundamental attribution error, which for many of you who don't know, is the tendency to attribute personal negative attributes to the person rather than the external circumstances. So, for example, somebody cuts you off in, when we're driving in Phoenix and there's 300 accidents a day. We're like, oh, he's an a-hole, right? There's a negative attribute about him, rather than maybe he didn't see me, maybe it's a new car, maybe his wife is pregnant and he's rushing home to have the baby, right?
Yep.
There are often more external circumstances that affect our behaviors than we give it credit for. And for me, there's this cognitive dissonance that is at play when I find myself doing that. When I do that first step and I'm like, oh, my coworker, my boss, my, whoever, they're being a jerk, or, they're doing whatever, right? There's a component of cognitive dissonance where I'm like, wait a second, I'm a person who values perspective. I'm a person who prides myself on being empathetic and realizing that there are different viewpoints, right? We see different sides of this ketchup bottle.
Yeah.
And that comes into play and creates this thing where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to figure out maybe they are coming from a different perspective. Even maybe think of a couple of things, because that helps me provide distance. And then the gratitude comes in there from there after that, right? Yeah. My path there is really the empathy to the gratitude.
Yeah.
And to find that space to be like, okay, I appreciate what they did here and I understand, and this is the outcome that we've gotten to, and kind of going from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, gratitude. I think people can do it. I think it will also work in reverse sometimes.
Yeah.
Depending on the circumstance. But I agree with you. That fundamental attribution error is really, it's a funny thing.
It is.
Because especially when we are thinking about ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're never a bad person because we always have our reasons.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the core questions about when we're asked to deploy empathy. It's about asking ourselves better questions about other people or of ourselves. We need to deploy our empathy for ourselves, right? And it's actually hardest to deploy empathy for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's super hard.
It is.
But can we ask those higher questions? What about what I'm experiencing or what Ashley's experiencing is just part of being human?
Yeah.
Yeah. What part of it is just us doing our very best? If everybody in this situation was doing their very best, how would that change things for me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So learning and having those tools in our back pocket, I think, is really powerful. Mm-hmm. Critical to resilience. Because part of being resilient is part of being able to temper our reactiveness to ourselves and other people. There's a process to do that, which I know the framework really brings forward, but being self-aware, like I said in the beginning, is that stillness. Can you hear what it is that you're saying to yourself? And this is one of the reasons why me personally, forever, I was a loud music girl, right? When I drive my car, I love music. I love music. Usually in Arizona, most of the year you can have your windows down, not, July through September, but that was just me, right? What I noticed though, it was just noise. And what I needed to create for myself was a place of stillness and quiet. And so I have just stopped having music on. I've stopped having really any radio on whatsoever. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. And I miss some things that I would love to participate more in, like listening to other podcasts. And like a lot of people do that on their way to work and whatever. Yeah. But I found that piece of stillness, all of a sudden, I start to reveal myself. I start hearing myself a lot better, whether it's a guy that cuts me off, whether it's but I'm listening now and forced to listen to what it is that I'm saying.
Yeah.
And doing and thinking and all of these things. And so just I think carving out a little bit of space for ourselves to be still.
Yeah.
And whatever your MO is, whatever, but I think
Wherever you do it.
whatever you do it, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Let yourself show yourself what's happening, right? Our lives are really noisy.
Yes.
They're really noisy. And part of being grateful is I am grateful for the noise. It means I'm busy. It means I'm blessed. It means I've got things going on.
Yeah.
And okay. And also,
Yep.
I need some quiet
Yeah.
to see what's happening.
I want to come back to, hopefully I remember the and also part, because that's something that I've definitely utilized hardcore. But I want to talk about the interesting part about fundamental attribution error and how it has to do with the relationships that we have with people. So if we're in a good relationship or a good place with like our husband, say, and he yells at me, like, my first instinct is, he must have had a bad day at work. The kid's overwhelming him. Like our 5-year-old's bouncing off the walls. I attribute it to external circumstances, right? If I'm in a bad relationship or a bad part with my husband, my automatic is that fundamental attribution error, right? It's internal. It's him. It's he's being a jerk. Yeah. Whatever. So it depends on the relationship that we have with someone, the viewpoint, the lens, but that applies to ourselves too. If we're in a good spot with ourselves, in a good relationship with ourselves, when something bad happens, you can easily say, there are external circumstance, it's part of human nature, I'm dealing with something, I can be forgiving, I can be accepting, I can be grateful. If we're not in a good place with ourselves,
brutal.
I suck. Yeah. I'm not worthy. I'm enough. Those internal attributes really become very loud. And I think that that's kind of a part of realizing this is contributing to that, right? So maybe working on the relationship with yourself or working on the relationship with others or whatever it may be to get yourself in a good place so that you can realize often there's external circumstances and this is an exception, not the rule. Yep. I made a mistake. I am not, a horrible human being. Yep. It's a one-time thing or something that I'm working through and working on and accepting and forgiving and being grateful for the opportunity to reflect and work on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Being grateful for the opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And change. And leave parts of ourselves behind and pick up new attributes and new characteristics that we want to incorporate into ourselves. Yeah. The ability to change is really powerful. I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful because I really am lucky in the sense that my career is helping individuals facilitate that change in themselves. So, and with change, I will say, the natural resistance to all change is fear. We are all geared, we're all geared to have a very distinct fear response.
Of change.
You see it in personal circumstances, you see it in organizations, you see it, and that's why change initiatives fail more often than they succeed, is because everybody that's involved is wired to resist the change because of fear, okay? But the opportunity that's presented with change and being able to walk with people as they reveal themselves through resilience, through adaptation, through tool gathering, skill building, it's remarkable. It's a remarkable thing, and I think everybody can do that. You don't have to be a coach to do that. You can model the change for yourself through resilience, through gathering tools, and teach it.
Yeah.
Help your kids.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's a big part. Like, that's one of the things I'm so grateful for, is that this is something, it's not rocket science. It isn't.
Yeah.
But it is hard. It's not complicated. It's extraordinarily simple, but it's hard.
Yeah.
But we can teach it, we can model it, and we can show people around us that we love and we care about a better way. I am so grateful for that.
Yeah.
That we have the power ourselves
To do that.
to do it.
I agree. And I'm grateful that we met. I'm grateful to Scott again. I think we've given him a shout out a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful to reconnect for the cold plunges, because for me, there's a shift, right? Between I'm introspective, I'm healing, I'm focusing on myself, to I am the storm, right? And now you see this potential that we were talking about, and you can see it. It's like you couldn't see it before because you were looking this way.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing the potential and the growth and the opportunity and all of these things. But there's a pivot that you kind of have to make.
Yeah.
And the practicing of that I get from when I go to reconnect and I go to the cold plunge, and the resilience process where I work through that fight or flight. I work through, I don't want to do this. This is hard. I hate cold water. When you go through it and you come out the other side, every time I get out, I reaffirm all of the potential that I see, and not commit, but like let myself know that it is worth it.
Yeah.
It is worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it. And it makes me so much more willing to do that process again, even if I still don't want to do it, even if I don't want to go into the cold plunge. But I do it again, and I'm like, oh yeah, this potential is here. And what can we do with it? Where can we go?
You know what's interesting, Ashley, is that the first cold plunge, you caught a glimpse of that girl in the mirror. And then you went back in your life, but you saw her, and there was no unseeing her.
No.
You saw her.
Yeah.
And that's where that linchpin moment came in. But every time you go back, she's not a ghost. You keep seeing her again. And now she's a more constant presence in your life. And I think that is what really does happen. And with all resilience work, and that's another reason I'm so grateful, it's very predictable. I'm grateful for how consistent the results are when you do the work.
Yeah.
That girl shows up every time in the mirror. She's there. And it's not by chance. It's not, maybe I'll be lucky today and I'll get to see her.
Yeah.
Is that I know she's there.
Yeah.
So the process of choosing the pain, we talked about choosing the pain is a pain you choose, and you choose to sit in it. It becomes less painful.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
The physical pain, right? It's still 31, 32 degrees. You're still sitting in ice. Crazy cold. Like hurts.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's a different kind of mental pain.
Yeah.
There is a significant amount of fear, I think, when I did the first cold plunge.
Yes.
Can I keep breathing? Like, am I literally going to have a heart attack?
Yep.
I didn't. And I showed myself a lot in that session. But every time I go, I can prepare myself because I've walked the path.
Yeah.
I've worked the process through so many times that I understand the consistency and the predictability of the outcome.
Yeah.
That's what resilience is. It's hard in the beginning. It becomes less hard as you consistently practice it.
Yep.
And pretty soon, it's a muscle that becomes so well developed that it becomes an automatic response.
Yeah.
And fear steps in. Anger will always be there. We're human. That's
Yeah.
just how we're wired. It happens.
Yeah.
But the very next response will be that resilient storm
Yeah.
response.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely easier to step in it
Yeah.
each time, right? Because at first, those first couple of cold plunges or first couple of resilience in any case
You bet.
is so hard to step into, so hard to convince yourself. And if I didn't have that social contract, I wouldn't have been
no
there.
way. Yeah.
But it becomes easier and easier. And our next episode, we're going to be talking and diving into framework. And
Yep.
I kind of want to talk about also the before that framework and after that framework. Because for me, there's a process that I kind of prepare myself for. And then at the end, there's sort of these associations that I pair with the feeling. So when I'm having a mini moment of just panic, I can utilize those things. And so I'm excited to dive in for our next one.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we're so thrilled that you guys have joined us, and we had a great conversation on gratitude. Gratitude is such a big deal. I mean, there's just no overstating it.
No.
So we will see you on our next episode where we dive into the framework.
Thank you for joining. We hope today's episode has ignited a pivotal spark in you and uncovered a fresh perspective that reminds you hold the power to transform every storm into your strength. Share this journey with your tribe and re-listen to uncover hidden gems. Until next time, keep building your resilience, and when you face the storm, don't just weather it, become it.